Okay, we're recording and we're here today for episode number 6 of jimerz rants. Unfortunately, today our tech guy Tommy is I guess officially done for the semester, but hopefully we'll be able to get him in to continue to help us out. We're fortunate enough to have Mr. Nate Franklin, the librarian here at the NMSU College, set us up. So I'm sitting here in the the hot seat, as it were.
You're in the command center.
Yeah, and we're back here once again with Miss Katie O'Connor.
Hi.
And today we're gonna be discussing the main topic that kind of got me interested in wanting to start a podcast, which is the recovery programs. And the one that's near and dear to my heart is the Sobriety program. This is the book that I'm trying to get it here without no glare on it.
There you go.
There's the book that we use here, and basically what the Sobriety program is that it follows the same format and template as the Alcoholics Anonymous and the Narcotics Anonymous. And, once I started participating in the Sobriety program, I owe like everything that I have now in terms of sobriety today to the Sobriety program, because, it's something that I really resonated with me from the beginning. So, it wasn't hard for me to pick it up and, really just embrace it fully. Prior to becoming involved with the Sobriety program, I've had opportunities to pick up the big book of the Alcoholics Anonymous, the Narcotics Anonymous, and read those books as well. And they're all the same, But for some reason, the Sobriety program is really what got me to where I'm sitting at today, which is 3 years sober.
Right. Congratulations. You're doing well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some subtle differences between AA and NA and Sobriety. And for those of you that may not know, NA is Narcotics Anonymous. AA is Alcoholics Anonymous, and Sobriety is almost, it just says it on the book, it's the red road to sobriety. It's the red road to Sobriety. And so it's about sobriety, but it basically incorporates some ideas and beliefs and tools that come from native cultures.
Yeah, and it gives you a good introduction in the beginning of the book about what the Sobriety program is all about. And one of the opening passages I think it's the preface, says that it's not about going back and living in the past in terms of trying to get back to, like, as it says in the book, living in teepees, but it's about having that ability to reconnect with those traditional beliefs and practices that, we as Native Americans have survived by for thousands of years. Those values of respect, of honor, of truthfulness, of, just being balanced. And I know that in this day and age, a lot of individuals who are seeking recovery sometimes have that struggle of finding a program that resonates with them, and what the Sobriety program does is it tries to incorporate these traditional values, teachings, and beliefs from our own cultures to make embracing the program easier for those individuals that are trying to find recovery for themselves.
That's right. And there's a lot of ways to approach recovery, and a lot of it starts with a belief system, having a belief in a higher power, the Great Spirit,
Yes.
Source of all, in the universe. There's a lot of different ways to think about spirit, about God, about religion. And we have spiritual practices that go with every path. I like to think that every well leads to God, or whatever you want to call it, higher power. But all of these pathways lead to the same place.
Yeah, and that's a big part of any kind of recovery program, is that spirituality. Unfortunately, today, a lot of individuals, I find, in my personal opinion, have that difficulty of connecting with that sense of spirituality because some of us may have this idea or these kind of feelings towards set religious institutes such as the Catholic religion. That's where a lot of the blowback comes from in terms of the community that I come from is because of the history of our people with the Catholic religion and how it was imposed upon us. We still have these kind of hard feelings of really fully accepting it. But one of the things that was told to me by my grandparents and a lot of the elders when I was growing up was that everything that it teaches is basically everything that we were taught growing up in our own traditional ways as well. Like I said before, those those virtues of being honest, of being truthful, of being unselfish, of being just generally showing that love towards your fellow man and brother and caring for each other. That's what keeps us together. But it's hard for, like I said, a lot of people to kind of get over that past that comes along with it, and and that's where that spirituality comes in. So for me, I'm fortunate enough to have been raised in a way where I've never doubted, my higher power, whatever you want to call him. That's one of the things that it stresses is that as long as we can find that higher power, it's going to play a big part in our recovery process of having that ability to understand that Creator is there to help us along the way in what we're seeking.
And often we get caught up in the language. Every spiritual path has its own language, its own ceremonies, its own ways of communicating with spirit. And often when we've had a trauma, and for what's happened in some areas is a collective trauma with a religion being imposed upon you. Um, and so if you can get through that trauma and look to the ideas behind it or the feeling behind it. Again, we don't want to get caught up in the language of it
Yes.
because that's not always accurate. But if we can kind of look behind that, behind the language of all those different spiritualities and look at the feeling, we go back pretty much to the same feeling, and that's the feeling of love.
Yeah.
Love, unity, caring for our fellow man, our fellow people, taking care of everybody, taking care of the planet. Um, is as long as we can kind of get to those feelings and understand that that's what's going to help us reach our own higher power, our own higher self, and stand in our own power.
And for a big part in the early part of my life growing up, learning the history of our people, that's one of the things that, kind of held me back from fully embracing the Western idea of religion. Um, I guess what I'm trying to say is I had hard feelings against the Catholic religion growing up because I learned early on, how it was imposed upon our people and how, certain steps were taken to kind of eradicate and destroy our own traditional ways. We were lucky enough to be able to hold on to them, throughout the years and kind of find this ability to incorporate them with each other so that way, we can recognize both of them as being, towards leading towards the truth. And for me, it was being able to really have that ability to look past these labels of Catholicism, of Christianity, and just look deeper into what it's really about, and that's what it is. It's just basically having that ability to love others, and respect others the way you want to be respected, as they say, that golden rule. And these teachings that we have wherever you're from, whatever your cultural background, if you take the time to really look at them and study them, you'll see that a lot of them are universal in nature. We all preach this ability for each other to have that mutual respect and care for each other, so that way we can all move forward in a positive direction, in these themes.
Right. We often we don't think about it very often, but when any religion or any belief is imposed upon a people, there's always backlash.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, there's people that don't agree or don't follow it, and also there has been in the past times when a religion that says they're based in love haven't acted
Mm-hmm.
that way. So we have to start looking at how are people acting? How are they standing in their integrity? Are they really acting out of love and unity, caring for their fellow man, or are they not?
And that's one of the saddest things about religion these days, is that a lot of times these religions of truth and love and good things are manipulated, and they're corrupted and radicalized by men to suit their own needs, and they're corrupted, and that's where we get all these kind of crazy cults coming up, and we have these kind of uh, bad scandals, that
Mm.
kind of drag it down. So unfortunately, I
Right.
know that in this time we're kind of like in a testing time, as some people would call it. A lot of these things are gonna hopefully withstand the test of time of what they're going through right now, and kind of be reformed in a big way. But for the most part, I think that a lot of it is going to hang around, and it's going to continue to show what it's really about.
Yeah, it's really interesting that when there's a trauma imposed on a people, or people work through various issues with their spirituality, um, often, I like to believe that everything happens for a reason. That's one of my personal beliefs, is things happen for a reason. And a lot of times we want to say, oh, this was a bad thing, that was, I didn't deserve this. And you rally against that darkness, you rally against that pain, you want to get out of it. And yet, really, the alchemy part is where we start to recognize our darkness. We recognize those traumatic events. We work through them, and we learn to incorporate them and accept them and love that part of ourselves. It's when we can look at the darkness and say, wow, that wasn't right, but let it be right from here on out. Let me stand for what's right. And if it's love, unity, caring, taking care of the earth, then that's what I stand for. And so we have to figure out what that is. What is our belief? And thankfully, there's many, many different spiritual pathways, and many of them are beautiful,
Yeah.
amazing, and we can learn little bits from every single one of them. Um, that's been one of the joys of my life, is looking into different spiritual beliefs and aspects, and accepting them and looking at them and saying, well, maybe this works for me or that doesn't work for me, and figuring out who I am. I'm unique as a person on this earth.
Yes.
There's nobody like me.
Yeah.
There's nobody like you. And I often tell my students this: we're so unique, our fingerprints are like none of the rest of the millions of people on the earth. We're so unique.
Yes.
And what works for each of us is going to be different from person to person. So part of walking the path of sobriety is figuring out who you are. What are your beliefs? What helps you to stay on the path to your higher power?
Yeah, and like I said, I was raised Catholic by my grandmother, who taught me everything good about the Catholic religion, and I still consider myself a practicing Catholic. But at the same time, I still believe in our traditional ways as well. And the older I get, and the more I take the time to really sit down and look at what really lies below all these labels, as I said before, of Catholicism, of traditionalism, of spiritualism. It's all universal in nature, in that we must practice these virtues, these good virtues of love and self-love, and going back to recovery, that's why spirituality plays a big part in being able to find that recovery for yourself, because we need that ability to have that um, reconciliation with ourselves. And we find that reconciliation through what our belief of our own concept of a higher power is. It says in the opening readings of the NA and the AA that we believe in a higher power, whatever that concept is to you. I can't impose what my concept of a creator is onto you and say, oh, well, here's what you have to believe in, and this is the only way it's going to work. You know, it's a great thing that we've reached this time. I think that we all have that ability to kind of choose for ourselves, what it is that we want to believe in and what we want to follow. And I rely heavily on a lot of the teachings from the Bible, because they're true in what they say. And in terms of what I'm speaking about here, is that it states you'll know by what it produces, the fruits of what it produces. If it's something good, you'll recognize it, and you'll be able to choose for yourself to continue to cultivate those teachings and take whatever it is that is really helping you along in your life. But if it's bringing you nothing but pain and suffering and kind of imbalance in your life, um, you have that ability to kind of just like thrust it off of yourself and say, that's not really what I want to hold on to and what I want to believe. And but that reconciliation that I was talking about, that self forgiveness, is one of the first things that we have to come to terms with in terms of finding our recovery. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, because for a long time, I had this kind of belief that I was unworthy, that I was unfixable, and for a long time, it held me back from finding that ability to kind of find that full recovery of what I was searching for. But once I was able to kind of um, find for myself, my concept, then it became a whole lot easier.
Right. You have to look at what works for you and what feels right for you, because like I said, we're all unique, we're all different, and what works for one person doesn't work for another. um, but it starts with, again, that self-forgiveness, that
Mm-hmm.
ability to love yourself and to look at your darkness, look at the things that you've done, the traumas you've created for other people, the traumas you've had for yourself, looking at those, working your way through them, and resolving them. And if you're ignoring it, if you're hoping it just goes away, not thinking about it, it's only going to, it's called the shadow self. It's the parts of you that you don't want to recognize, that you don't want to deal with,
Yeah.
that become the shadow,
Yeah.
becomes the big, dark, scary part of yourself that you don't want to deal with. And oftentimes, if we don't deal with our shadow self, the shadow parts of ourself act out. We do things without thinking, without realizing that we might be harming ourselves or other people. And so that shadow, again, that's Carl Jung, bringing up that shadow work, acknowledging it, feeling it, working through the emotions of it.
Mm-hmm.
Until you work through the emotions of it, it's going to be there.
And that's where coming into terms of finding a program for yourself comes into whether or not you're going to find success or not in your recovery program, because we need this ability to have others kind of teach us how to embrace that shadow, as Mr. Yun called it, those negative aspects of ourselves that we try to repress and more or less deny. Oh, that's not me. I don't have these kind of thoughts, but we all do. And we all
Mhm.
struggle with those kind of thoughts at times. But the biggest part is what you were saying, that introspection of self. For me, in the early part of my recovery program, I've been able to have that time to go out into nature, as I said, my cathedral in the world, and just sit down or just go on a long walk and have these kind of really deep mind opening thoughts about myself and question what it is that I'm doing in my life, where I'm going, and what are the results of all these actions that I'm taking so far. Are they good? Are they bad? And I've said it before in the other podcast that we reach that age as adults where we have to have this ability to do it, but unfortunately some of us need that kind of guidance, and that's where counseling comes in. That's where finding a program comes into play. And for me, when I speak of serious introspection of self-examination of self, it's that having that ability to, first of all, as it says in the first three steps, of having that honesty to admit we have a problem, that we don't have control over it. That second step, that we're ready to start taking those steps to make a change that's going to stick. And I know that in the Wellbrighty program, the only three things that we need to begin our program is that honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. We have to be honest with ourselves about who we are, what's holding us back, and if we're, completely honest with ourselves, and we'll know it too. We can't lie to ourselves about what our problems is. For me, I made a joke of it early in my recovery where I used to say, "Oh yeah, I'm an alcoholic," and and that's that. I knew it. I didn't deny it, but I didn't take it seriously. I tried to minimize it by making a joke of it. And that's kind of one of the things that we have this ability to do, is kind of minimize these serious issues in our lives, and we try to find like ways to minimize and justify and justify our actions, but in the end it doesn't do us any good.
It
And then it goes into open-mindedness. Once we have that honest talk with ourselves and tell ourselves, this is what I'm suffering from and this is my problem. What am I going to do with it? When we enter into these kind of programs of AA, Narcotics Anonymous, or Wellbrighty, that open-mindedness is what's going to set us on that path, because we're willing, we're honest, and to embrace this program, and give it that good try to make it work for ourselves. And that's where counselors, where our friends, where our families come in to play that big part in helping us to find that sobriety and recovery that we're searching for.
Right. Well, a lot of times we try to hide from our pain. We try to escape from it, and this is what leads to addictions in the first place: is the need to escape,
Yep.
escape our body, escape our mind, escape our thoughts. Sometimes escape situations in our lives, um, but you don't acquire freedom or any kind of freedom until you can face those pains. You can face that pain, feel those emotions, and it doesn't feel great. It feels bad. It's horrible when you're in the midst of those feelings, and sometimes we will do anything to get out of those feelings. And yet, the way to freedom is through them. We have to face them, we have to feel them, we have to cry and rage and scream or whatever it takes to get that pain out or to face it. And facing that pain is the first step, and realizing, okay, emotions are emotions. And yes, I feel them. And yes, they have power, but they move on. They're transient. They will move, through our body. Um, and if we wait it out long enough, eventually we'll work through those emotions and we'll feel better.
Yeah.
We start to feel better. Our thoughts become more positive. Our bodies feel better if we're getting clean. If we're trying to stay away from the toxins and the poisons.
Yep.
And you have to realize we have lots of toxins in our lives. We have the things we eat and the things we drink and our addictions, and we have thoughts that are around us. We have emotions that are toxic that are around people.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I realized, is that apart from being brutally honest with yourself in the beginning, it's having that ability to overcome this shame and embarrassment
Yeah.
of coming to others to ask for help and saying, this is what's wrong with me. I need that help. And you've had that experience where I actually came to talk to you about those emotions that I was feeling in that early phase of my recovery program, because there were some times, you know, um, as I said before, in some meetings we have these kind of mind opening, breakthroughs in what we're talking about. And for the most part, I was kind of like I was freaking myself out because I couldn't understand why I was getting so emotional every single time that I would try to talk about something, whether it was just like an off topic or whether it was something that was really, really, meaningful to me. But every time I was talking, and I took it to understand that, like you said, that I had been so out of touch with myself through the use of alcohol and drugs for so long that I didn't know how to handle these things now. But once I was able to express those feelings to you, and you kind of gave me a deeper insight into what the reason could possibly be behind it, that allowed me to understand it, and embrace it. Um, Me being a man, I still have that hard ability to kind of cry in front of others. And I haven't really cried in a long time, but I still get those times when certain things will get me choked up. But nowadays, it's not necessarily the bad things and the mistakes that I've made that mess me up like that. It's kind of those meaningful things, when you see a friend who's succeeding in their recovery. Um, just that service work that we talk about in the programs, that's what really brings me that real happiness that gets me
Yeah.
really going, so
You have to be a strong person to be able to express your emotions,
yeah.
to stand in your power, to speak your truth, to reach out and help others. Um, you have to be a strong person to stand in your authenticity,
Yes.
to be who you truly are. But until you can face those issues, face those emotions, work through them, and I would recommend anybody out there, if you're having trouble dealing with your emotions or your sobriety, talk to somebody. Go to meetings, find a counselor, talk to a friend that helps you work through it,
Yes.
that accepts you for where you're at in your life, because these things are really important and you can't do it alone. um you but once you can embrace your authenticity,
Yes.
when you can cry in front of people and say, oh man, this was so painful to go through this, when other people see your authenticity, they start to accept their own authenticity, because we're all unique, we're all so special,
Yeah.
and yet we want to cover it up, we want to hide from it, we want to run away or escape. But until we face ourselves, it's really hard to get clean, to get
Yeah.
sober, to get healthy.
Yeah. And that, I think for me, that's one of the hardest things that I have to struggle with, is that frustration, because like I said before, a lot of individuals that come into those rooms and those meetings, they're not necessarily there because they want to be there. They're there because they're court obligated. But we have these kind of breakthroughs with some of them, and you can see that they're really wanting that sobriety, or they're wanting that recovery for themselves, but sometimes some individuals will just plain out say, I'm not ready for it yet, I don't want it. And it's
Right.
not for us to say, but you got to take it, you got to do it, and
Right.
we can only help you so far, and
Yeah.
that's part of the
Only you can decide.
yeah.
Only you can decide when it's time. And if you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yeah.
And, you're going to walk that path until you are ready.
Yeah. So but like I said, it's that's what my motivating factor is these days, and that's what's motivating me to pursue this education and to use this education and knowledge that I'm gaining to take it back to my community, to take it out into the world and help those
Mm.
individuals that are seeking that help, and that want that help in finding that recovery for
Yeah.
themselves.
I often tell my students, as long as you want to escape yourself, you'll never be able to be in touch with your superpowers. And everyone wants to know, what is my superpower? Well, you don't discover that until you can be with yourself and be authentic in yourself. And part of being human is learning how to deal with your emotions, to deal properly with your emotions, to let them out and to let them inform you, because through those emotions and through your understanding of yourself, creativity comes.
Mm-hmm.
And when creativity comes, all of a sudden, the uniqueness of your spirit, your soul, your person, um, comes through. And then you begin to realize, wow, you know, I am really good at listening to other people express their emotions. Or maybe I'm really good at taking someone by the hand and saying, hey, let's do something fun. Let's go for a walk. Let's heal. Let's find ways to heal, and let's be mindful about what tools we need to do that with. But it's coming back to, you know, grounding yourself, connecting to the earth, being in your body, being in your mind, accepting whatever emotions are flowing through at the time. And it's going to change minute by minute. And not being ashamed of that, allowing it to come as it comes.
And we've been given the template of what works through the forms of AA, NA, and other types of recovery programs such as Sobriety. And there's all the A's, you know, Gambling Anonymous,
Right.
every single drug out there, Cocaine Anonymous, but it all works, you know, as long as you're willing to embrace that program and do what it tells you to do, you know, and give that honest effort, it'll work. It's progress over perfection. Every single day that I wake up alive and well and just another day sober, I take that as a blessing, and I tell myself, you know, thank you, God, for another day. You know,
Right.
let's make this day another good one. And the other day, I got a chance to speak with one of the old jailers from Acoma Jail, and I bumped into him at the supermarket, and he was like, I got to let him know, you know, hey man, I got this much time sober and everything. He's like, good job, you know. He's let me ask you one question. Do you miss any of it? And I said, no, I don't miss a single thing about that life that I left behind in terms of alcoholism and you know substance abuse. It's I don't even know why it took me so long to get to where I'm at now. You know,
Yeah.
if I could just snap my fingers 10 years ago and understand what I know now,
Right.
you know, it's amazing.
When we're young, we're not given the tools. We're not given the tools of how to deal with emotions, how to stay in our bodies, how to stay connected, and we struggle.
Yeah.
We struggle a lot, and we come to a point like where you came to the point where you realized that wasn't working anymore. That you needed to make that change.
Yeah, I was hard headed. I was stubborn and I was foolish, you know, because like I said, I had these moments and these, you know, lengths of time, 6 months, 3 months of where, you know, I would be doing okay. And then, you know, something inside of me would just try to like, you know, test it once again, like, oh, it's gonna be all right this time. You're only gonna just drink today and that's gonna be it, you know, but that was never the case. And
It's really interesting because when I look at addictions and I look at uh, alcohol or different drugs or different vices, um, what I see is there's an energy to it. There's a specific energy to
yeah,
alcohol. There's a specific energy to narcotics. There's a specific energy to marijuana. And yet, what happens is when we use, we don't realize how that's influencing our own energy. Or being around somebody that's using influences our energy.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, we're not really thinking or feeling out of our own being, our own personhood. We're being influenced by something else. And we talk about media. We're always influenced by social media.
yeah,
And what we don't think about is how we're being influenced by the energy of other people, the energy of substances, the energy of the earth, of the universe, or just the energy of place. Sometimes you can move from place to place and realize, wow, it feels different in Milan than it feels in Acoma.
yeah,
There's a feeling that comes with different places on the earth. And so what we need to begin to wake up to is that, first of all, it's just not myself. It's just not me and my energy and my feelings and my thoughts. There's all these other people around me, and there's all these other energies influencing me, whether it's food or alcohol or whether it's marijuana or whatever it is. Um, And how am I being influenced without realizing it? Well, when you can get out from under the influence of that particular vice, whatever it might be, you might wake up to say, wow, I have completely different thoughts. I have completely different feelings. I have different ideas about what I want in my life. And when you become clean and clear of toxins in your body begins to speak to you.
Yeah.
But until you can get to that point where you're clean and sober, when you're healthy, when you're eating right, when you're exercising, when you're drinking enough water, you're taking care of yourself, that you suddenly begin to realize, wow, I was influenced by those donuts. I mean, I might see it on my belly, but you don't understand that there's an energy to sugar. There's an energy to alcohol. There's an energy to, um, meat, things like that. And so when we begin to realize how we've been influenced and get out from under that, we can start to determine, who are we? Who am I?
Yep.
Who am I authentically? What are my beliefs and thoughts and feelings, and why are they important?
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure this out. And that's when you realize, when you get to this point, you're like, whoa, maybe I can tap into my superpowers as a human.
Yeah. And that's part of what you were talking about earlier, is that we have to cultivate this habit of becoming self-aware of ourselves, on a daily basis, giving us that like kind of a checkup. We as human beings, we have the ability to develop habits. Unfortunately, we have the ability to, it seems most times, develop bad habits.
Right.
And what I speak of in terms of bad habits is we have this ability to kind of put ourselves down all the time, to overthink things and kind of like, tell ourselves, oh, you didn't do that right, or, and we get ourselves stuck in these kind of ruts.
Right.
And when you get stuck in those kind of negative ruts, unfortunately, the fallback is always drugs or alcohol to kind of cope
Exactly.
and to get escape from these kind of feelings. But that's why it says, to practice optimism at all times. Always look at the bright side of things, and, tell yourself that it can get better. It's going to get better, and believe it, because as long as you believe it and you keep that positive mindset, it's going to happen. And that's where it goes into what I said before of being able to network and find your group of like-minded individuals that are going to help you along on this path, because it plays a big part in having that ability to move forward, not just by yourself, but together, because it's like carrying a big stone is how I always like to tell everyone, that big stone is all of life's, life's struggles, life's challenges. I don't want to say problems, but life's challenges, and they're small challenges, but they add up. And
Right.
if we're trying to carry that burden alone, it's gonna weigh us down, and it's gonna wear us out in no time. But that's where, having friends and family comes into play. And I found my friends and I found my family that helped me along.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, the friends that I had when I was still lost in my addictions aren't my friends anymore. More than anything, they're the individuals that are encouraging me along every time I see them. Although some of them may not be on that path or ready to take those steps into finding sobriety for themselves, it's they're never there to try to drag me back into what I left behind in terms of alcohol and drugs. They always tell me, keep it up, you're doing good.
Right.
So
It takes mindfulness, and mindfulness kind of comes out of the Buddhist traditions of being aware, being awake, being aware. When you're feeling emotions, you're saying, oh, wow, okay, suddenly I feel this. Why? Questioning, why do I feel this way? What's going on? Am I being influenced by somebody else or some other energy that I'm not aware of? Where am I? What am I doing? These are really kind of, some of these are existential questions.
Yeah.
They're questions that we should all be asking every day. Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose here? What is this uniqueness that is divinely me that I haven't touched into? Who am I? Again, who am I? And what is that? And it's that ability to question and self-explore and figure out, okay, there's certain things that I need to do to become mindful. Maybe I need to get up and greet the sun every day. Maybe I
Yep.
need to clean up the clutter of my house because it's influencing
Yeah.
my actions.
Yeah.
and and anybody that knows me, my house is a mess right now. So it's totally something that I struggle with. But your house is an indication of your psyche. If you have things put away and placed and where everything belongs, it's an indication that your psyche and as an individual, you're categorizing and putting things where they belong. If things are a mess, it could be a sign that maybe your life is out of control. Maybe there's things that need to be looked at.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I learned in treatment. And that's why they make you get up, and the first thing you do is you make your bed, because that's your first accomplishment of the day, is
Yeah.
making that bed and putting it in order, and from
Right.
there,
And set
everything
an
just,
intention for the
yeah,
day. I mean, make your bed and say a little prayer. Say an intention for, keep for health and happiness and love and joy.
oh, definitely.
You know,
And that's that daily reprieve that I was talking about in the other podcast too. At the end of the day, we make that
right,
inventory of what we did right, what we could have changed, and how we're going to change it for tomorrow. We don't dwell on the mistakes we made, but we recognize them and we say,
right.
okay, well, I made that mistake, but it's not going to go over and over again, because I'm going to try to make that positive change for it.
Exactly. And if you can take the mundane tasks of the day, make the bed, take a shower, in that shower, talk about how you're releasing all those things that you need to release, your sorrows, your pains, your traumas, your addictions.
Yes.
Talk about it in the shower and say, help me release this. Let me release this and let it go down the drain. And then again, set an intention for um, you to step into your highest timeline, whatever that might be. I call it quantum shower. I always step into a quantum shower, or I step into a regular shower and then I step out of a quantum shower, because I set an intention. And then the same thing with eating breakfast, or getting dressed for the day, getting your house in order, going about business. Set an intention. Be mindful. What am I doing now? Where am I at now? What am I thinking about now? And if you find yourself thinking about that addiction and how it was easier to go do that, pull yourself back
Yeah.
and realize and be thankful for your health at this point.
Yeah. And in terms of setting positive intentions for every single day, that goes back to establishing those positive habits.
Right.
Because in the beginning, I was at a loss. Those were the things that were in my mind, you know, like every day it was like, oh man, how am I going to do this now? How long is it going to take? What day am I on in my sobriety? Like, it's only been 3 days, and what am I going to do for the rest of my life? But now that I've come along this far, it's where it's to the point where I don't even think about it anymore, and
Right.
it's kind of like I can't really express it, but other than just constantly repeating myself over and over and saying it's crazy, how things have changed so dramatically, and
Yeah.
it's possible to make that change for
you're
yourself.
you're like a different person than you were. And this is the miracle of being human, is we can change so
Yes.
quickly. Our cells, our body is always renewing itself, and every time that happens, we have the ability to say, okay, each day brings me opportunity to step into my highest and best self.
Hmm.
And yeah, maybe I slip or something, but I can have a blank slate the next day. I can change it. And if I can be mindful moment to moment, minute to minute, eventually the years pass.
Yes, and we establish for ourselves that foundation, and that strong
That's right.
foundation lies in this paper that describes the 4 Ds of
Yeah.
sobriety are delay, distraction, deep breaths, and decatastrophize.
Right.
And I like that last one, decatastrophize, because for a lot of us, we think that because if we start working this program and we put all our effort into it, that no catastrophes are going to befall us. But once something doesn't go in, that's something that trips up a lot of individuals, is that they throw themselves into the turmoil because they say, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and doing all this. So why is this still happening to me? And that has that ability to kind of knock someone
That's
right down. But we have to be able to recognize and understand that even if we live our best lives and we do all the things that we're supposed to do, you know, life is life, and it's still going to throw those unexpected speed bumps and challenges in us, towards us. And we just have to, you know, face them as they come. And, you know, if we need that help, as I repeat myself over and over again, don't be afraid to ask your friends and your family for that help to help you along in these things that, you know, sometimes come our way.
Right. And as you said, that third day of sobriety, we're like, why isn't everything happening?
Yeah.
You don't have to plan your life in 3 days
Yeah.
or one day. It may take step by step. And in one of the what I think is a miracle of life is that you take a step that you think feels like the right step, and then the next step appears to you. You're given the next step. But you don't have to plan everything out all at once and say, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. No, take it minute by minute, moment by moment,
Yes.
step by step, and you'll get there. You'll get there. But you have to be mindful in those minutes, in those moments.
And that's why, like, accepting your coins and your keychains and recovery and programs, that 1 week coin, that 1 day coin, 1 month, you know, it's giving yourself that acknowledgement that you've made it this far and you've come this far, and, you know, you're going to continue to keep progressing forward.
Right. And it's a celebration. It's
Yeah.
a celebration. Those coins are telling you they're there for you. And you just have to keep the faith. You have to say, okay, maybe I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but I know what I'm going to do today.
Yes.
I'm going to take this step today to be mindful, to be in the moment, to ground myself, to heal myself. And in that process of being authentic and working and basically telling the universe, I want to heal, you basically are healing the next person beside you.
Yep.
And in that, by healing ourselves, we actually extend that energy to the world. We extend that out to all human beings.
Oh, yeah. We become that light of the world, you know.
Exactly.
We become that shining example to others that recovery is possible. And, you know, we shouldn't be ashamed of it, of how far we've come, of the progress we've made. Because, you know, people are looking at us and they're looking at us for inspiration. And that's where going out there to help others and show them the way, you know, it plays a big part in, you know, the recovery. Because first of all, where I'm sitting at today, I couldn't have gotten here without the help of that first person who opened those doors for me to walk into that meeting and start that journey that I'm on right now.
Exactly.
And, you know, I owe nothing but the utmost of gratitude to all those people that I've met along the way who've kept me going. You know, it's a good thing, and I'm so happy, you know, and I'm forever thankful.
And remember, as you embark on your path, just take it one step at a time, one moment at a time, and look for the positives. Look for the positives. Don't go through the 100 things that you feel like you did wrong today, or that's wrong about you, or don't try to cover yourself up. Don't try to hide under your sarcasm or your jokes. Don't try to hide by wearing the right clothes or looking perfect. Be who you are.
Yes.
Be yourself and walk that path. And whatever other people think of you, it's none of your business. It's none of your business what other people think of you. You just follow your own path.
And it says in the opening readings too for Narcotics Anonymous, it tells the people in attendance, you know, we didn't become addicted in 1 day. So remember, easy does it. You know, that program that we work, the steps that we work, you know, there'll be time enough to kind of make those amends to the people you've wronged and to kind of set right those mistakes. And we can't do it all in 1 day. So, you know, it goes back to that cliche that's 1 day at a time, one moment at a time, you know, but as long as you continue to just keep that positive mindset and surround yourself with like-minded people, you know, it's going to continue to work.
That's right. And pay attention to nature. Pay attention to the animals out there. Pay attention to where you're walking. Set your feet solidly on the ground and be in your integrity. Be mindful. If you're having trouble with cravings or things like that, carry that beautiful rock that you found, put it in your pocket, and hold on to it every time you feel that feeling coming on or that craving coming on. And it doesn't have to be a rock. It can be a feather. It can be a plant, a part of a plant. It can be anything that speaks to your heart and that gets you into your heart. And again, you're going to feel those emotions, and people don't want to be in their heart because
Yep.
of those emotions, but it's important. Until you can deal with your heart energy and your feelings in your gut and in your soul and in your mind, you can't really you can't really get healthy until you can step into your authenticity and feel those emotions. And even if it takes crying or screaming or whatever, I mean, I'll run through my house going ah, and just letting that frustration out, or crying uncontrollably. I mean, we have to let those emotions flow, and when they can flow, we begin to flow. And things that were stuck or hard to deal with, they will bubble up and out. Um, and again, I recommend, if you don't have somebody to talk to, find somebody, somebody that you trust. It can be a friend, it can be a relative, it can be a counselor.
Yeah.
Seek help because they're there to help.
Yes.
They are there to help you.
And that goes back to the spirituality side of it. It was like day 3 in my sobriety that my friend took me up on the mountain, and we hiked from, the base of one of the smaller peaks on Taylor up to one of them. And when we reached the top, I just kind of had that ability to let it all go, and to talk to God, and ask him, please help me. I'm ready to let this all go now, man. If this is what it's going to be, please continue to help me in my path. And, ever since that day, I've had that ability to kind of just, because prior to that, I didn't know if it was going to actually work this time or if I was just going through the motions like I've done millions of times before. But, something just finally clicked in me. But like I said, I never gave up. I never gave up on my desire to finally find that sobriety that I was searching for through all these years. And I give credit where credit's due. And I never did any of this alone. I've met so many amazing individuals along the way who helped me to get to that starting point, over and over again. And whatever it is that they gave to me along the way, I kept with me, and I've used it to this day to help me to where I'm sitting at now. And it makes me happy.
Yeah, you're never alone.
Yeah.
And
You're never alone.
And part of that is, either if you're not, it depends on your beliefs, but you have a higher self. You have this part of you that is always witnessing, always knowing, this wise part of yourself that knows what's going on all the time. Going to that self and saying, hey, here I am, I need help, whatever it is, asking spirit for help, asking the energy of the forest, of the trees, of the water, and being that. Maybe you need to be the mountain. Maybe you need to be the water. Maybe you need to be the wind. But, attach yourself to the earth and be aware of all of the benefits and all of the beauty of being that.
Yeah, we're all interconnected in this world, and we all live in a symbiotic relationship with, what it is that the mother has to give to us. And sometimes we get out of balance, but, that doesn't mean that we can't find that balance once again in our lives.
And help other people. I mean, reach out, help other people, because we all need help. And it does you a world of good to help other people. I mean, when you do a good deed for somebody and they're happy or they feel better, you feel better. You feel good. A lot of times, when we're depressed, it's because we're just not reaching out. We're not helping anybody. We're not being part of a community. But reach out, help other people, lend people a hand. Don't judge them. Just say, hey, good job, whatever you're doing, good job.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep doing it, and lend your support to wherever it's needed. Shine your light.
Yes. And I still have tons of amends that I have to make to others, to myself. But don't hold those grudges, because our time here on this earth is limited, and sometimes it's just that caring hand that helps someone back up on their feet, that's gonna help them finally get to where they need to go. So, but
And every time you help another person, you make amends.
yes,
You make amends to spirit. I mean, I'm not saying don't go and make amends to specific people that you've done wrong,
yeah,
but make amends by saying, hey, I'm here to help. I'm lending my voice. I'm lending my support. I want to help other people. I want to be there for them. So reach out and help them. It feels good. It'll make you feel great. So make sure you do that.
okay. And I know that today we were trying to cut it short, so I think we've gone to our hour point that we always shoot for every podcast. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that continues to tune in, to give that positive feedback on what it is that we're doing here. I hope that these podcasts help you in some way or another, and we're going to continue to do this as well. I want to remind all the people that tune in that if you have friends or family out there that are looking to attain their GED, our next round of being able to enroll in the GED program here at the NMSU Grants campus is coming up. So you can do it online. You can go to NMSU Adult Education. There's an enrollment form that you can fill out. You can come here to the Grants campus as well. It'll take you no less than 5 minutes to give us your information, fill out that form, and we'll get you set up for our next orientation on the 28th of January. And from there, you can start working towards attaining that GED or high set. And then even from then, you can carry that on over and come into the student advisor's office and sign up for classes as well.
And if you're looking to move beyond your DED, come to the college, find a career or to explore and find out what you're really interested in, what you'd like to do. We can help you get a certificate. We can help you get an associate degree. We can help you get on the path to even a higher degree if you want a bachelor's or a master's. If you're interested in counseling psychology, come see me. I'm Katie O'Connor here at NMSU. I'm in the Lucy Bell Ma building in room 101, or you can always give me a call. I'd be glad to help you on the path. And always take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and make that next step. Don't be afraid to take that next step in your life.
Shout out to Tommy. We need you back here so you can set all this up for us because we need some background music as well. But other than that, everyone have a great day. We'll probably circle back to this topic once again at another time. And, I just look forward to being able to share these feelings with you guys as well. And
give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Comment. Pass this on to other people. Pass this podcast on to anybody you think might be interested.
Okay. But other than that, everyone have a great day. And hopefully this is the prepare yourself in your microphone. Oh, yeah, I did. I got the right one. All right, everyone. Have a great day.